The loud warning sirens filled every corner of the massive Galactic Space Council building. Ambassador Jiwoo Kim felt her heart racing as she stared at the glowing screen in front of her. The words made her stomach drop. Humanity was being charged with breaking the most sacred laws in the galaxy. She read each accusation carefully. Making illegal weapons, building ships that could destroy entire star systems, threatening the peace that had kept thousands of worlds safe for centuries. Her hands trembled slightly as she realized how serious this was. One wrong word today could mean war between Earth and every other civilization in known space. Captain Hyun-sik Park stood right next to her, his face showing no fear or worry. He had seen many battles in his long career with the human space fleet. His grey hair and deep wrinkles told stories of countless dangerous missions among the stars. But even he knew today was different. Today they would have to reveal secrets that humanity had kept hidden for over 50 years. The Great Assembly Hall was filling up with representatives from across the galaxy. Jiwoo watched them enter, each species more strange and wonderful than the last. The Altarians moved like graceful dancers, their blue skin shimmering under the bright lights. They were nearly 8 feet tall, and spoke in voices that sounded like beautiful music. Their large silver eyes showed worry as they took their seats. The Vex delegation scuttled in next, their insect-like bodies clicking and chattering. They looked like giant praying mantises, but Jiwoo knew they were actually brilliant engineers and mathematicians. Their compound eyes reflected the room's lights like jewels, and their sharp mandibles moved constantly as they talked to each other. In their strange clicking language, most mysterious of all were the Lumina beings. They had no solid bodies at all, instead appearing as floating clouds of pure energy that changed colors based on their emotions. Right now, they pulsed with angry reds and worried yellows, casting shifting shadows on the walls around them. Jiwoo had spent years learning about all these different species. She knew their cultures, their fears, their hopes for the future. Many of them had become friends during peaceful trade negotiations and scientific exchanges. But today, they all looked at her with suspicion and fear. They detected the gravitational signatures, she whispered to Captain Park, her voice barely audible over the noise of the gathering crowd. All 12 species sent their best scientists to study the readings. They know something big is out there, something they can't understand or explain. Hyun-sik nodded slowly. For months their secret had been getting harder to keep. The new human ships created ripples in space itself, distortions that sensitive alien equipment could pick up from light years away. It was like trying to hide an elephant by painting it invisible. You might not see it, but you could still feel its footsteps shaking the ground. The council chairman finally entered the hall, and Jiwoo felt a chill run down her spine. The Gorvanian leader was massive, even by his species standards. He stood nearly 12 feet tall with 4 powerful arms and skin that looked like living stone. His deep voice could shake windows when he was angry, and right now he looked very angry indeed. The chairman climbed onto the raised platform at the center of the hall. His 4 hands gripped the ancient ceremonial gavel, a symbol of galactic law that had kept peace for over 1,000 years. When he raised it high and brought it crashing down, the sound echoed like thunder through the chamber. Human delegation. His voice boomed across the silent hall. You stand accused of crimes against the cosmic order itself. Our best scientists have detected impossible readings from your space, ships that seem to bend the very fabric of reality, vessels that appear and disappear like ghosts, leaving only twisted space-time in their wake. Jiwoo felt every eye in the room focus on her. Thousands of alien beings representing billions of lives across hundreds of worlds, all waiting for her answer. She knew that what she said next would either save humanity's place in the galactic community or mark them as enemies to be destroyed. She took a deep breath and stepped forward into the center of the hall. The weight of humanity's greatest secret pressed down on her shoulders like a mountain. For 50 years they had worked in absolute secrecy, pushing the boundaries of physics itself. Now it was time to reveal what they had accomplished and face whatever consequences came next. Dr. Min-ho Lee sat in his laboratory deep beneath the mountains of South Korea, his fingers dancing across holographic controls that would have seemed like magic just a century ago. The quantum communication link stretched across thousands of light-years, connecting his research station directly to the Galactic Council chambers. He could feel the weight of history as he prepared to share humanity's most guarded secret with beings who might see it as either a miracle or a threat. The air in the council chamber shimmered as Minho's holographic display came to life. Complex mathematical equations floated between the alien delegates like glowing ghosts, each symbol representing years of human research and experimentation. Particle diagrams spun slowly in three-dimensional space, showing interactions that no other species had ever imagined possible. The gathered aliens leaned forward in their seats, their various forms of eyes, sensors, and perception organs trying to make sense of what they were seeing. The Alterians' musical voices fell silent as they studied the data with growing amazement. Even the usually chattering Vex stopped their clicking sounds, their compound eyes reflecting the dancing equations. Jiwoo stood calmly in the center of it all, knowing that her next words would change the galaxy forever. She had practiced this moment in her mind 1,000 times, but nothing could have prepared her for the reality of revealing humanity's greatest achievement to creatures who might not understand what it meant. For thousands of years, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber, every civilization in this galaxy has focused on the same thing. You've all learned to manipulate matter, the stuff you can see, touch, and measure. You've built incredible technologies from the atoms and molecules that make up stars, planets, and living beings. She gestured to the holographic displays floating around them. But you've all missed something important. The visible matter that makes up everything you know, every star, every planet, every ship in your fleets, that's only 15% of what actually exists in our universe. The chamber erupted in surprised murmurs and shocked exclamations. The crystalline hierarchs, beings made of living gemstone who prided themselves on perfect mathematical understanding, began to resonate with frequencies that sounded almost like panic. Their spokesperson, a towering entity that looked like a walking diamond, projected urgent calculations into the air. "This cannot be accurate," the crystal being declared, its voice ringing like struck bells. "If such massive amounts of matter existed, we would have detected it long ago. Our sensors are the most advanced in the galaxy." Jiwoo smiled sadly. "That's exactly the problem. You can't detect it with normal sensors because it doesn't interact with light or regular matter the way you expect. We call it dark matter, and it's invisible to almost everything you use to study the universe." Dr. Minho adjusted his display, showing new diagrams that made several alien delegates gasp in recognition. The invisible scaffolding of the universe became visible in his projections, vast networks of dark matter that held galaxies together and shaped the very structure of space itself. Humanity approached the problem differently, Jiwoo continued. Instead of trying to find dark matter with light and sensors, we asked a different question. What if we could learn to think like dark matter? What if we could find ways to interact with it directly? The air in the chamber suddenly shimmered again, but this time it wasn't from Minho's projections. A new figure appeared through quantum communication, Admiral So Young Choi broadcasting from somewhere in deep space. Her military uniform displayed symbols and insignia that none of the alien delegates recognized, marks of rank and achievement from humanity's secret dark matter. "Fleet. Honored council members," Admiral Choi said, her voice carrying the confidence of someone who had commanded impossible ships through uncharted dimensions. "What Ambassador Kim is telling you is completely true. Our vessels don't just travel through normal space. They exist partially in the dark matter realm, the hidden layer of reality that surrounds and interpenetrates everything you know." She gestured to something beyond the range of her communication device. "Right now, I'm standing on the bridge of a ship that's bigger than your largest space stations. But to your senses, I might as well be a ghost. We can phase in and out of your reality at will, traveling through dimensions that your science doesn't even know exist." The insectoid. Vex representative began chittering frantically, its mandibles clicking so fast they created a buzzing sound. "This violates everything we understand about natural law," it declared. "Matter and dark matter should never interact so directly. The fundamental forces of the universe prevent such impossible combinations." Other alien delegates began voicing their own objections and fears. The energy-based Lumina beings pulsed with colors that indicated extreme agitation. The massive Gorvanian chairman gripped his ceremonial gavel so tightly that cracks appeared in the ancient wood. Jiwoo waited for the chaos to die down before speaking again. Her calm voice cut through the panic like a knife through fog. "We understand your shock," she said. "For 50 years, humanity has been exploring this new frontier in complete secrecy. We've built ships that can disappear from your reality and reappear wherever we choose. We've learned to harness the invisible, forces that shape galaxies themselves." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes, sensors, and perception organs of representatives from 12 different worlds. "Yet, here we are, standing before you in peace. We could have used this technology to conquer, to destroy, to rule over every civilization in known space. Instead, we've chosen to reveal our secret and ask for your partnership." The silence that followed was deafening. Every being in the chamber was trying to process the implications of what they had just learned. Humanity, the youngest and seemingly weakest member of the galactic community, had secretly become the most powerful force in the universe. Admiral Choi's image flickered slightly as she adjusted her communication array. "The question now," she said, "is what we do with this knowledge. We can work together to explore wonders beyond your imagination, or we can let fear tear apart everything our civilizations have built together." The weight of that choice hung in the air like a storm, about to break. Chancellor Dae-Hyun-yoon of the Galactic Defense Initiative had heard enough. His reptilian features twisted with anger as his scaled hands crashed down on the speaking podium, the sound echoing through the chamber like a gunshot. The Chancellor's species, the Drakmari, were known throughout the galaxy as fierce warriors, who valued strength above all else. They had built the most powerful conventional fleet in known space, and they weren't about to be intimidated by human claims. "Enough of these fairy tales," he roared, his forked tongue flickering between razor-sharp teeth. "You speak of invisible ships and impossible technologies, but we see nothing. Show us these phantom vessels of yours, or face immediate military sanctions from every world in this council." The threat hung in the air like poison. Military sanctions meant complete isolation. No trade, no communication, no protection from hostile forces. For a young civilization like humanity, it would mean slow death among the stars. Many species had faced such punishment before, and none had survived it unchanged. Other delegates began murmuring their agreement with the Chancellor. The crystalline beings chimed with harmonic support, while the insectoid Vex clicked their approval. Even some of humanity's former allies seemed to be wavering, uncertain whether to believe such incredible claims without proof. Jiwoo felt the weight of her entire species' future pressing down on her shoulders. She looked across the chamber to Captain Hyun-Sik Park, who had remained silent throughout the proceedings. The old soldier's weathered face showed no emotion, but his eyes held a question. "Are you ready for this?" they seemed to ask. "Once we cross this line, there's no going back." She gave him the slightest nod, then reached for the quantum communication device attached to her wrist. Her fingers moved across the controls with practiced ease, opening a secure channel that reached, across the vast emptiness of space, to Admiral So-Young Choi's hidden fleet. "Admiral Choi," Jiwoo said, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was about to unleash, "please reveal Darkwing Squadron." The response came immediately, crackling through the communication system with crystal clarity. "Understood. Ambassador, beginning dimensional phase transition now. All units prepare for reality breach." For a moment, nothing happened. The aliens in the chamber began to mutter among themselves, some laughing at what they saw as humanity's desperate bluff. Chancellor Yoon's scaled lips pulled back in what might have been a smile, showing rows of predatory teeth. Then space itself began to change. Outside the massive viewport that dominated one wall of the council chamber, the starfield started to ripple like water disturbed by a stone. Reality seemed to twist and fold in ways that hurt to look at directly. The very fabric of the universe appeared to be tearing, revealing glimpses of something vast and dark, moving just beyond the edge of perception. The laughter died in alien throats as gravitational waves washed over the station. Emergency sensors began screaming warnings as space-time itself bent and warped around them. The artificial gravity fluctuated, causing several delegates to grab their seats in alarm. Then something impossible pushed through the dimensional barriers. The human dreadnought that materialized before them was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It dwarfed even the largest alien vessels, stretching nearly 2 miles from bow to stern. Its hull wasn't made of conventional materials, but seemed to be constructed from crystallized space-time itself, dark and mirror-smooth, crackling with barely contained gravitational forces that made the air itself hum with power. Alien delegates gasped and cried out in their various languages as the massive warship hung in space before them, its presence warping the very light around it. Strange energies played along its surface like captured lightning, and where it touched normal space, reality seemed to bend and flow like liquid. Dr. Yon-Soo Kang, the station's Alterian science officer, was frantically checking her instruments with trembling blue fingers. Her musical voice cracked with disbelief as she called out her readings. Sensors are detecting massive gravitational distortions, but that's not all. There are dozens more signatures appearing all around us. One by one, more ships began to phase into visible reality. Sleek human destroyers materialized to port and starboard, their hulls gleaming with the same impossible energies as their larger cousin. Heavy cruisers appeared above and below the station, their weapon arrays crackling with power that could crack planets in half. The energy-based Lumina delegate pulsed with colors that had no names in any language, terror-bright light that illuminated the entire chamber. "By the eternal flames," it whispered, its voice like wind through crystal chimes. "They could have destroyed us at any moment. We never would have seen them coming. They've been surrounding us this entire time." Chancellor Yoon's confident expression had vanished completely. His scaled hands gripped the podium so tightly that his claws left gouges in the metal. For the first time in his long military career, he was looking at a force that could crush his mighty fleet without breaking a sweat. The communication screen flickered to life again, showing the bridge of the revealed dreadnought. Captain In-Soo, Han appeared, wearing the same unknown insignia as Admiral Choi. Behind him, human crew members worked at control stations that seemed to bend and flow like living things, their surfaces covered with symbols that hurt alien eyes to look at directly. "Honored council members," Captain Han said, his voice carrying the calm authority of someone who commanded ultimate power. "I want to make something very clear. We didn't come here to threaten you. We came in peace, as we always have. But we also came prepared." He gestured to something beyond the camera's range. "What you're seeing now is less than 1% of humanity's true capabilities. Our ships don't just travel through your dimension. We can exist in multiple realities, simultaneously. We can be everywhere and nowhere, visible and invisible, real and unreal, all at the same time." The chamber had fallen completely silent, except for the hum of overwhelmed sensors and the quiet whispers of alien prayers. Every being present was trying to process the implications of what they were witnessing. Humanity, the species they had, dismissed as primitive newcomers, had secretly become masters of forces that could reshape the galaxy itself. "The question before you now," Captain Han continued, "is simple. Do you want us as allies working together toward a brighter future, or do you want to learn what happens when dark matter warships stop being invisible?" The answer to that question would determine the fate of every civilization in known space. War Marshal Tai Min Ko stood in the emergency command center, 3 levels below the council chambers, surrounded by the greatest military minds in the galaxy. Holographic displays filled the room, showing tactical analyses that grew more desperate with each passing minute. The Drakmari general's usually fierce demeanor had cracked, replaced by something none of his subordinates had ever seen before: genuine fear. His tactical advisors worked frantically at their stations, running simulation after simulation. The results were always the same, no matter how they adjusted their strategies or combined their forces. The floating red text that appeared after each simulation felt like a death sentence. Total fleet annihilation. Estimated time, 4.7 minutes. Run. "It again," Taemin ordered, his scaled hands clenched into fists. "There has to be a way. We have the most advanced weapon systems in galactic history. Our plasma cannons can melt through starship hulls like butter. Our quantum torpedoes can crack moons in half." The head tactical officer, a brilliant Altarian strategist named Commander Hee-Jin Lim, looked up from her console with defeat written across her blue features. "War Marshal, we've run over 300 combat scenarios. Our weapons can't hit targets that exist partially outside normal spacetime. It's like trying to shoot ghosts with bullets." Another advisor, representing the insectoid Vex military, clicked his mandibles nervously as he shared his analysis. "Even if we could somehow detect their ships, our targeting systems can't lock onto something that phases in and out of reality. By the time our weapons reach where they were, they could be anywhere else in the galaxy." Taemin stared at the holographic display showing the human dreadnought floating just outside the station. Every scanner they pointed at it gave different readings, as if the ship was constantly changing its fundamental nature. Sometimes it appeared solid as a mountain. Other times it seemed no more substantial than a shadow. "How do you fight what you cannot see or track?" he muttered to himself, his confidence completely shattered. For the first time in his long military career, he was looking at an enemy that his forces could not defeat, could not even hope to damage. It was like facing the gods themselves. Back in the council chambers, chaos had taken hold. Representatives from 12 different species were shouting, clicking, chiming, and pulsing in their various forms of communication. Some demanded immediate military action, despite the impossible odds. Others called for surrender. A few suggested fleeing to distant galaxies where humanity might never find them. Ji-Woo Kim stood calmly in the center of the storm, waiting for the initial panic to subside. She had expected this reaction. Fear was natural when facing the unknown, especially when that unknown held the power to reshape everything you thought you knew about the universe. When the noise finally died down to manageable levels, she raised her voice to address the assembly. "Honored delegates," she said, her words carrying clearly through the vast chamber. "I understand your shock and your fear. What you've witnessed today challenges everything your civilizations have believed about the nature of reality itself." She gestured toward the viewport where the human fleet remained visible, their dark hulls crackling with energies that bent space around them. "But I want you to understand something important. Humanity could have revealed this technology in a very different way. We could have appeared above your homeworlds without warning. We could have made demands with weapons pointed at your capitals. We could have simply taken what we wanted." The chamber fell silent as the implications of her words sank in. Every delegate was imagining dark matter warships materializing in their home systems, invisible until the moment they chose to strike. "Instead," Ji-Woo continued, "we chose to come here to this place of law and diplomacy, to offer you a choice. We're giving you 3 options, and the decision you make today will determine the future of every civilization in this galaxy." Held up one finger. "First, you can acknowledge humanity as an equal partner in the galactic community, grant us full territorial rights, representation in this council, and the respect due to any sovereign civilization. We want to be part of your community, not its rulers." Several delegates began murmuring among themselves, considering the implications. The crystalline hierarchs chimed with calculated frequencies, running probability analyses of what this option might mean for galactic politics. Ji-Woo raised a second finger. "Second, you can choose war. You can attempt to destroy us, to drive humanity from the stars, to maintain your old understanding of how the universe works." Her voice grew harder. "But understand what that choice means. Our invisible fleet could end any conflict before your weapons finish charging. Your most advanced sensors can't track us. Your most powerful weapons can't harm us. War with humanity would not be a battle. It would be a one-sided massacre." The silence that followed was deafening. Even the most aggressive delegates, those who had spent their lives believing that superior firepower could solve any problem, were forced to confront the reality of their situation. "Third," Ji-Woo said, raising her voice above the chaos as debates erupted once again across the chamber. "You can choose partnership, true partnership. Unite our civilizations, not in conquest, but in exploration. Use humanity's dark matter technology, not for war but for discovery." At her signal, Councillor Eugene Bay activated new holographic displays throughout the chamber. Star charts filled the air, showing regions of space that had never appeared on any galactic map. Distant galaxies hung like jewels in the darkness, previously unreachable, but now within the grasp of combined human and alien technology. With our ships, Jiwoo explained, we can reach galaxies millions of light years away. We can discover new worlds, new forms of life, new possibilities that none of us have ever imagined. The universe is vast beyond comprehension, and we've only explored the tiniest fraction of what's out there. The star charts showed pathways through dark space, routes that could take explorers to the very edge of the observable universe. Ancient galaxies where the first stars were born, young systems where new forms of life might be taking their first steps towards sentience, mysteries that had puzzled scientists for millennia, now within reach of discovery. Think about what we could accomplish together, Jiwoo said, her voice carrying the dream of infinite possibilities. Your knowledge combined with our technology, your wisdom guiding our exploration, your cultures enriching our understanding of what it means to be alive in this incredible universe. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes, senses, and perception organs of representatives from worlds across the galaxy. We're not asking you to surrender your independence or abandon your beliefs. We're asking you to join us in writing the next chapter of galactic history. The chamber had fallen completely silent. Every being present was weighing the three choices. Before them, understanding that their decision would echo through history for thousands of years to come. The choice, Jiwoo concluded, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's hopes and dreams, is yours. Outside the viewport, the human fleet waited patiently in the darkness, ready to become either the galaxy's greatest threat or its most valuable ally. The 3 days that followed were the longest in galactic history. Behind closed doors, representatives from 12 different civilizations argued, calculated, and debated the future of their entire galaxy. Some sessions lasted through multiple day-night cycles, with delegates surviving on stimulants and sheer determination. The fate of billions of lives hung in the balance of every word spoken. Supreme Chancellor Junho Seo barely slept during those critical 72 hours. As the Council's highest-ranking official, he carried the weight of making the final decision that would either unite the galaxy or tear it apart forever. His office became a constant stream of visitors, military advisors warning of humanity's impossible advantages, scientists fascinated by the possibilities of dark matter technology, and diplomats trying to find middle ground between fear and hope. The crystalline hierarchs spent entire days running mathematical calculations, their gemstone bodies resonating with frequencies that represented pure logical analysis. They calculated probability matrices for every possible outcome, from total galactic war to unprecedented cooperation. Their final report was simple but devastating. Any military conflict with humanity would result in the complete destruction of conventional civilization within weeks. The insectoid Vex held emergency sessions with their greatest engineers and architects. Their clicking, chittering conversations filled their delegation quarters as they tried to understand how dark matter manipulation could revolutionize construction, transportation, and manufacturing across their colonies. The possibilities were so vast that some of their oldest scientists wept with joy at the thought of what they might discover. Even the energy-based Lumina beings, who rarely showed strong emotions, pulsed with colors that indicated intense excitement, mixed with deep concern. They spent hours studying the quantum signatures of humanity's ships, trying to understand how matter and energy could be manipulated at such fundamental levels. On the morning of the 4th day, Supreme Chancellor Junho Seo stood before the assembled council for the final vote. His voice was hoarse from days of constant meetings, but his words carried clearly through the chamber that had become the center of galactic attention. "We have deliberated for 3 days and nights," he announced, his formal robes rustling as he raised the ancient ceremonial voting staff. "We have examined every possibility, calculated every risk, and considered every consequence. The time has come to choose our path forward." The voting process itself was unlike anything in Council history. Instead of the usual simple majority, this decision required unanimous agreement from all 12 member civilizations. Any single species could veto the proposal and plunge the galaxy into uncertainty. One by one, the votes were cast. The Alterians voted for cooperation, their musical voices harmonizing in agreement. The Vex clicked their approval in synchronized patterns that sounded like alien applause. The Lumina beings pulsed with golden light that meant enthusiastic consent. When the final vote was tallied, the result was clear. Unanimous approval for cooperation over destruction, exploration over conquest. The chamber erupted in celebration as beings who had been enemies just days before embraced the possibility of a shared future among the stars. Ji-Woo Kim found herself appointed as the first human council director, a position that had never existed before but was created specifically to oversee the integration of dark matter technology with galactic civilization. The responsibility was enormous. She would be coordinating joint missions between species that had different biologies, different cultures, and different ways of understanding the universe itself. Chief Engineer Bo-Ra Kim became the bridge between human and alien science. Her first task was establishing research stations where humanity's dimensional phase technology could be safely shared with alien scientists. The process was delicate. Dark matter manipulation required not just advanced technology, but entirely new ways of thinking about physics and reality. Working alongside Alterian quantum physicists, Vex engineering specialists, and Lumina energy experts, Bo-Ra began developing hybrid technologies that combined the best of human and alien knowledge. The early results were breathtaking. Ships that could phase through dimensions while maintaining the graceful beauty of Alterian design, weapon systems that could defend entire solar systems without causing unnecessary destruction, and communication, Orises that could send messages instantly across galactic distances. Commander Woo Jin-ryu faced perhaps the greatest challenge of all, creating mixed-species crews that could work together effectively on vessels that operated partially outside normal reality. He established training programs where humans learned to work alongside beings with completely different ways of perceiving the universe, while aliens adapted to the strange requirements of dark matter navigation. The transformation of humanity's warships into exploration vessels became a symbol of the new galactic partnership. The same dark hulls that had once seemed so threatening were redesigned with input from the galaxy's greatest artists and engineers. Alterian navigators brought their instinctive understanding of quantum currents. Vex engineers contributed precision manufacturing techniques that made the ships stronger and more efficient. Lumina energy specialists helped optimize the power systems that made dimensional travel possible. Captain Sang Min-oh stood on the bridge of the newly christened Unity, the flagship of humanity's first joint interstellar expedition. Around him, the most diverse crew in galactic history, prepared for a journey that would take them beyond the edge of known space. The Alterian navigator's blue fingers danced across control surfaces that sang with musical tones. Vex engineers monitored systems with compound eyes that could perceive quantum fluctuations invisible to other species. Lumina beings flowed through the ship's energy conduits, optimizing power distribution with living intelligence. Through the massive viewport, the galaxy stretched out before them in all its glory. But beyond the familiar stars lay something even more incredible. Other galaxies, distant and mysterious, waiting to reveal their secrets to explorers brave enough to make the journey. Navigator Hee-jin. Lim's voice carried the excitement of a lifetime spent dreaming of this moment. All systems are operating within normal parameters. Dark matter generators are stable. Dimensional phase arrays are synchronized across the entire fleet. We are ready for phase transition, Captain. From her office on Earth, Ji-Woo's voice reached across the vast distances of space through quantum communication arrays that made conversation possible at any range. Unity Fleet, this is Council Director Kim. You carry with you the hopes and dreams of every civilization in our galaxy. Take us beyond the known. Show us what wonders await in the infinite darkness between the stars. Captain Sang-min gave the order that would change everything. All ships initiate phase transition. Take us into dark space. The transformation was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Reality rippled around the fleet as dozens of ships began to phase out of normal space-time. They became ghostly outlines, then shadows. then something that existed in dimensions that had no names in any language. As the ships completed their transition into dark space, humanity's mastery of the universe's hidden architecture opened infinite possibilities for all species brave enough to embrace the unknown depths of existence. The galaxy would never be the same, but for the first time in its history, every civilization could look forward to a future filled with unlimited potential for discovery, friendship, and wonder. The age of exploration had truly begun.